Welcome back to another episode of the NeuroAnimation Grow Your Brain podcast. I'm your host, Maddie, and today's episode is about more than just mobility. It's about fear. What happens when your body stops feeling safe? When every step you take feels dangerous? Angela Murrow spent years searching for answers. She met with countless specialists, doctors, searching for answers, but none were to be found. What started as mysterious brain zaps eventually evolved into something much bigger: anxiety, fear of falling, and eventually taking away the independence Angela once had. Today, Angela shares the emotional reality of being trapped inside fear and how neuroanimation has helped her flip the switch. Thank you, Angela, for joining me on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Before you started at neuroanimation, Angela, what was life like for you emotionally?
Emotionally, I was trapped in my body. I could basically not leave the house without somebody holding on to me or me holding on to them. Canes, crutches, walking sticks, all of those things didn't help. I needed a physical person to hold on to because I had several falls, and those falls just escalated my anxiety and my fear. And I just felt like I need to have somebody, I need to hold on to somebody so that I don't fall.
You've mentioned these brain zaps that no one could really explain, Angela. What did that feel like to you?
Those brain zaps actually started over 20 years ago, and I don't know what they were. They were I tried to explain it to a neurologist, and he says, well, brains don't zap. So I didn't know how to explain it, but it was a jolt. And those went on for years. In the beginning, I felt very tired when I had them because I would have 3 or 4 a day. And then eventually they got further and further apart to where I could function, I could drive, they weren't impacting my life. Eventually, I did have an epileptic seizure, and that landed me in the hospital and they put me on medication. They are not sure that that's what it was because in 2005, I did go, 2007, I did go to a neurologist and he did a brain MRI after I was having the zaps for 2 years. And he says, we don't see anything wrong with your brain. So if you want, you can take anti-seizure medication. So I didn't, because at that point, they just became part of my life. Now, whether that has any connection with my fear of falling, I don't know. COVID might have done that because my life was fine, even with those brain zaps, because I got to the point where they were 3 months apart. After that, they did put me on anti-epileptic medication. And that got rid of the brain zaps, but it also brought in other problems. That did something to my nervous system because it got to the point where, and this was gradual over the period of 5 years, it got to the point where I was furniture walking. I could not walk across the room.
Meaning, so to get from room to room, you would have to touch
to get from anywhere in the house. I could not. I either had to drag a chair with me or I had to hold on to the counter and then the refrigerator or hold on to the wall or hold on. So that was my life. And at that time we were living in a 2-story house or 3-story house, and going up and down the stairs was unbelievable. Because then I also had the fear of falling because I was falling many times. So it was cycle. It was a cycle. It was fear that brought on stiffness, that brought on falling. And the more that would happen, the more intense my fear became and the less confident I was with walking. The falling kept going on. The fear intensified. And then it got to the point where I literally needed help just to walk. from one room to another. So basically, my life was shutting down. I had lost that confidence. I tried many times to go out on my own. My driving wasn't affected, but I couldn't get out of the car and walk to get a cart.
I can't even imagine the toll that must have taken on you in terms of losing your independence and not being able to do a task that used to be so simple as walking across the room or taking out the garbage.
So when I would go shopping, I would always have to park right next to the carts and then literally hold on to the car and make my way to the cart. And once I had the cart, that gave me the stability that I needed to go inside the store, but I still had that anxiety. And I can remember one time leaving the store, and there was an incline to go down into the parking lot, and I literally couldn't move. And I just thought, okay, this is just not, you cannot live this way. And I just stood there almost in tears, and I had to ask a gentleman, do you mind just coming with me to the car? Now, I had the cart, but I just didn't have the confidence that I could take the cart to the car.
So would you say that was the moment when you realized that something needed to change, or maybe?
That was the tipping point, because I thought, I can't live this way. This is not life. This is not life. I need to be able to have my confidence back. So my life was declining, and I cannot tell you all the different avenues of doctors and treatments and homeopathic things, traditional medicine and MRIs, and I cannot. I've got a list that just goes on, and no one really gave me hope.
You've mentioned that you had seizures too. When you were seeing all of these doctors, was there any form of resolution that they could think of?
No. They had put me on a medication, and I believed that the medication was bringing on this fear and this anxiety. So I did wean myself off of it, because by that point I wasn't having the brain zaps anymore, and I wasn't having seizures. So, but because we live in New York, they have a rule there where you have to be seizure-free for a year.
Before driving?
Before driving. So I basically then became much more of a prisoner, because now I couldn't drive myself. I had to be chauffeured.
So, Angela, how did you hear about NeuroAnimation?
A friend of ours, Greg Bowman, had a stroke, and when we saw him previous to the stroke, he was fine, no problem. When we saw him after we heard that he had the stroke, he was walking with a cane. My husband just happened to call Greg and say, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? And Greg said, I've found this place. Actually, his wife found it by accident, NeuroAnimation. And he told us what they did. And he says, I was able to throw my cane away. I don't need it anymore. Their method is very unusual, but I have seen great success. So by this time, we had tried quantum neuropathy. We had tried it all, because it was all to gain my confidence back. We even did physical therapy. We did all kinds of things. But once he said that he saw great improvement with NeuroAnimation, we thought, okay, let's give it a shot. What have we got to lose? So we decided, okay. So we came out, and actually today was my last day. So when Dylan, my therapist, showed me my very first day in there, I couldn't believe that was me. I literally had to hold on to him with both my hands gripping his arm, because I was afraid of falling. And all we had to do, the test that we had to do, was just walk over some red lines, and I was not able to do that without his assistance.
What were your goals when you first came into NeuroAnimation, when you first sat down with your specialist, Dylan?
I was very skeptical because of all the other things that we had tried. So I was looking for a miracle. I really was. But I just thought, well, let's give this a shot. Let's try this. By the third day, I didn't need his hand, or I didn't need to hold on to him anymore. The walking still was an issue because of my balance and a fear of falling. And so we decided to use a gait belt. And he would hold on to me in the back. And I would joke with him all the time, Dylan, are you holding on to me? He says, I got you, I got you. You sure, Dylan? You're not letting go?
Oh my gosh.
Because of that fear. And then one time we were able to walk around. He says, you have no idea the improvement that you have made. I didn't see it, but others did. He says, and I just want you to know that we walked around in the foyer in the building there. He says, I just want you to know that I wasn't holding on to you the whole time. And I said, what?
You couldn't believe it,
No, I couldn't believe it. I said, you weren't holding on to me? He said, no, you were walking on your own.
So it sounds like there was this tipping point where you used to be clutching onto Dylan or anyone for dear life as you're walking, to now suddenly you have more confidence such that you don't need to hold on to someone and you're able to walk up and down the hallways without even realizing that maybe there's not even someone's arm there that you're holding on to.
The interesting thing that I took away from this whole, I mean, it's an incredible program. But what it allowed me to do, which I have not done in 5 years, is go up and down the stairs without holding on to the handrails.
Wow.
And I was talking to my daughter last night, and she said, Mom, I remember when you were sitting on the landing and you sat there for half an hour because you were not able to even get yourself up to hold on to the hand railings to go down the stairs. So what Dylan and I did, he says, okay, we're going to go up the stairs. He says, and I, if you need to hold on to the railings, no problem, hold on. So I think the first time I did hold on, and then coming back down, I think I held on, because we went several times. And then a few days ago, I thought, Dylan, I think if I just listen to some music, I can do this without even holding on. He said, do it. Put some music on. And I was beating him up those stairs without holding on to the handrails.
Oh my gosh.
And I was running around. I said to Dylan, Dylan, I feel like running. So my brain must have done something, because I've never felt like running. I never felt like walking, let alone running. So,
and without anyone there next to you.
Yeah, I said, I just feel like running. He says, okay, well, let's go outside and, let's see what you can do. So it was a transitional point. And he also said, when you go back to the hotel, he said, walk up and down the hallways, which I did by myself. He said, and go up and down the stairs, which I did by myself, without holding on to the railings. And he said, another thing you can try is try to walk backwards, because that stimulates other nerves in your legs. So I did. I walked down the stairs without holding on, and I walked up the stairs backwards. I did have to hold on because I didn't want to, lose my balance, but I was able to do that going backwards. So I've seen incredible progress.
So what was that like for you when you first realized, I can do this? I have more confidence. I know I can walk. I don't need anyone's help. I'm going up and down stairs, walking all down the hallway. What is that like for you?
It really was like a miracle. It really was, because all these years, 5 years, it had just progressively gotten worse, to where I had become so dependent on other people that I was losing my confidence and my ability to just live life. So this has given me new meaning to life. And he kept saying, Angie, you can do it. You're doing this. You're doing this. I'm not the one that's helping you. You can do this. So in a matter of 3 weeks.
So how does that feel to you now, knowing that you have it within yourself, that you are able to do these tasks without as much assistance as you thought?
I can do it. I have that confidence, and I have to believe that I can continue to make progress. Because my fear now is going home and getting back into the old routine of having to hold on to somebody. He says, don't do that. Don't do that.
Do you think, it sounds like you've made an incredible amount of gains since coming to NeuroAnimation. How do you see this translating into your home life?
At home now, I don't do the furniture walking, so I can walk around, no problem. The interesting thing is going to be, can I go down the stairs without holding on to the railing? Because I haven't done that, like I said, in 5 years.
After these 3 weeks, how is your fear of falling now?
You know, it's not bad. It's not bad. And my body tells me, and I'm trying to listen to it because I don't want to have a setback. If I am confident and I can walk, I walk on my own. If my brain or my body says, okay, you need a little bit of assistance, I'll use my husband's pinky finger or his belt loop, but I'm trying to stay away from using his arm like I used to.
And you've just wrapped up your program at NeuroAnimation with your specialist, Dylan. What would you say have been the highlights of that experience?
When we first started with the fish game, I call them the fish game, I had to hold on for dear life and sit in the chair because I couldn't do it without it. Today, I said, Dylan, I'm not going to use the rope, and I'm just going to stand next to the chair. So I was able to do, in the second segment of the fish games, I was able just to stand.
Wow.
And I didn't think I was able to do it.
Have you felt any mood elevation or mood changes since starting the program?
Yes, because when you see that you can improve, when you see that you can do things that you couldn't do before, it does make you happy. Because otherwise you're in this dark spot where you think, this is what I'm doomed for the rest of my life. And that is very discouraging. So when you come to a place like this and they're helping you through these issues and you see that you can make improvement, you do become happy. And I just have to say, the concierge of the hotel where we're staying at, now I didn't know that he was paying any attention to my husband or I, but we've been there for 3 weeks. So this morning, we said to him, because we knew it was our last day at the NeuroAnimation, we said to him, Patrick, do you mind if we videotape what you have seen throughout our journey here? So he said, yeah, I'd be happy to. So he starts and he says, well, when you first came, I honestly thought you were blind.
Because you were walking, like gripping onto your husband?
Exactly. And you were looking at the floor, which was a total surprise to me, that he was even paying attention to that. He says, and now I see that you can walk around by yourself, you don't need your husband, you can do this on your own. So that, to me, it's like, others are noticing this. This is amazing.
And I can't wait to see what happens when you go back home into your family life and see what they notice.
Yes, that's going to be the ultimate
test.
Yes.
I love it. Well, Angela, thank you so much for sharing your journey. Congratulations on such amazing progress at NeuroAnimation.
Thank you.
What to close off, I was wondering maybe what are some words of advice you could give to our listeners who might be considering doing the program or maybe struggling with similar fears?
Try it. You have nothing to lose. Try it, because in my case, we have done, you name it, we did it. And there was no progress. If there was progress, it was minor, but then it would revert. So my feeling is, try it. You have nothing to lose. If anything, it would give you the confidence to know that you can do things that your body says you can't, and your mind says you can.
Well, thank you so much, Angela, and cheers to an incredible 3 weeks at NeuroAnimation, and I look forward to seeing how your home life and your return back to the community goes.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks again for tuning in to today's episode, and until next time, keep growing your brain.